This grizzly bear may seem like a brave guy, but he's actually afraid of a lot of things, especially werewolves. To help the bear get over his fears, his kind friends find a solution, but nothing goes as planned. Boog is a cute bear who lives freely in a thick forest along with his several friends. His closest mate is a deer named Elliot who loves telling stories. One night, Elliot gathers all the animals to share his story of the werewolf. He recalls a dark, stormy night when a female deer named Giselle was walking through the forest. She suddenly started hearing weird noises and asked a squirrel for help. They investigated the claw marks on the trees and concluded that it can be no other than the wailing wampus werewolf. Luckily, Elliot arrived in time to rescue the victims. He believed that the werewolf communicated through interpretive dance, so he presented his unique moves. Elliot gets interrupted because all the animals refuse to believe his story and say that the legends about the werewolves are just myths. However, Boog trusts his friend and calls the story quite convincing. Elliot thanks Boog and continues telling how he faced the werewolf. He was standing face to face with the deadly beast. His breath was smelly and claws were sharp, but his fangs were even sharper. He wanted to devour the biggest and juiciest animal in the forest. Hearing this, Boog screams in fear and runs away. Elliot pauses his story time and goes after his friend. He assumes that Boog was pretending to be scared to make the story feel real. However, Boog is scared for real and asks Elliot if the werewolf is just a legend or not. Elliot tells Boog to calm down as the werewolves disappeared years ago, but they may be still alive. Boog is still trembling in fear and confesses that he is afraid of werewolves. He didn't grow up in the forest like other animals, so he isn't that brave. He lived in a cozy garage with a comfy bed and fluffy blanket. He didn't even struggle for food and used to get tasty fish crackers for free. In short, he was safe. Boog can't risk his life anymore and wants to find a place to hide, but Elliot reminds him of their upcoming camping trip. They have been planning it for years, so they can't give up like this just because of a legend. Boog has to stay with Elliot because he never abandons his friends. Despite this explanation, Boog still wants to make a panic room and hide in it until the werewolf dies of old age. Suddenly, their old friend, Mr. Weenie the dog, arrives there and warns everyone of an upcoming danger. He lives in the forest with his owner Bobby, but she has disappeared all of a sudden. Boog thinks that the werewolf has eaten Bobby and now he will come after other animals. Hearing this, Elliot promises Boog that he will defeat the werewolf at any cost, and then they will go on a camping trip. Boog trusts him and requests Elliot not to tell anyone about his fear. Elliot agrees, but as soon as he meets the other animals, he reveals Boog's secret. At first they get shocked, but Elliot explains that all of them have some fears. Being true friends, they should be helping each other overcome their fears. Elliot has planned everything already, and he will not rest until Boog gets over his fear of werewolves. The next morning, Boog experiences a nightmare where he gets attacked by a werewolf. He wakes up trembling in fear and scares Elliot, who came to meet him. Elliot has brought Boog's beloved teddy bear and the last piece of his favorite treat. Despite Boog's warning, Elliot eats the treat bar, but he knows where to get more of them. A new shipment of treat bars has arrived in the town, and this is their chance to steal some of them. Elliot even knows a shortcut, but it goes through the Dead Bear Gulch. Boog is afraid of the creepy gulch, but for the sake of his favorite treats, he agrees to go there, and Mr. Weenie accompanies them too. Beside them, a group of nature lovers have also entered the gulch. They are led by the notorious hunter, Shaw, who has become a tourist guide since the open season has been declared illegal. Meanwhile, Boog's friends are hiding in the gulch to execute their plan. Their mission is to scare Boog and teach him how to survive his fears. They start by using some smoke, shadows, and fake skeletons, but their main character is Ian, who will dress as the werewolf. He will pretend to get killed so Boog can continue living in peace. Everything goes smoothly at first, but then Ian accidentally hits a tree and a beehive falls over his head. He screams for help and runs blindly towards Elliot and Boog. They hide behind the tree while Ian falls off the cliff. He lands near Shaw and his crew, who assume that Ian is the werewolf. Shaw gets really happy because this incident can help him get back on his hunting career. Meanwhile, Boog and his friends run so fast that they reach the main road. Elliot tells Mr. Weenie that the werewolf is real, and if Boog can defeat the real werewolf, it will be even better than what they planned. However, Boog is not in the mood of continuing this journey, as he is really angry at Elliot for putting him in danger. While walking back home, they meet Shaw, who seems to be after something alarming. The animals decide to follow him to the town where an important meeting is being held. Shaw breaks into the meeting and tells everyone that he has witnessed the wailing wampus werewolf. He clicked some pictures as proof, and even drew a detailed sketch of the werewolf. Elliot eavesdrops on the meeting by hanging on a rope, but Mr. Weenie starts eating the rope. Boog tries to push away Mr. Weenie, but the naughty dog bites on his arm, making Boog howl like a wolf. The animals run away in time, but they leave some marks behind. Shaw tells the sheriff that the marks are left by the werewolf. If he is not killed in time, he will eat everyone. The sheriff gets scared and makes the open season legal again, but he warns Shaw not to kill any other animal except the werewolf. Shaw apparently agrees, but he is not going to follow any rules. Boog knows how dangerous Shaw is. Therefore, he wants to warn all animals so they can make preparations in time. He asks Elliot for help and promises to go on a camping trip with him if Elliot succeeds in stopping both the werewolf and the open season. Otherwise, they all must hide in the panic room. Elliot chooses to face the danger and catch the werewolf by himself, but he will not do it without Boog by his side. Meanwhile, Shaw goes back home and pulls out his favorite gun. Afterward, he starts looking for his hunting partners Ed and Edna, who are running a food cart since the open season was declared illegal. They both get really happy on seeing Shaw and immediately agree to get back on hunting. After killing the werewolf, Shaw is going to hunt down Boog and Elliot because they ruined his mission in the past. Before he reaches the forest, the animals must prepare themselves. Elliot tells everything to his friends and promises that he will catch the werewolf and ride it to the town to convince the sheriff to close the open season again. Of course, the animals refuse to trust Elliot because all he knows is dancing and camping. However, Boog believes in his friend and he's ready to stand by Elliot till the end. Friends don't abandon friends. Boog, Mr. Weenie, and Giselle go with Elliot to catch the werewolf while the other animals start preparing to protect themselves from Shaw. Mr. Weenie suggests that they should check his RV first because that's the first place the werewolf visited. The RV seems clean, unlike a crime scene, because Elliot says that the werewolf must have removed all the evidence. Giselle points out the dishes, because a werewolf would never bother to wash dishes, but Elliot still believes that the werewolf did this all after eating Bobby. After looking around for a while, they find a metal detector, but Elliot calls it a werewolf tracker. By using the tracker, he finds a ring, but under the ring, there's some filthy poop. Elliot declares that this poop belongs to the werewolf, and it will lead them to him. His friends stop him from touching the poop, but Elliot is willing to do anything to prove himself right. Firstly, he checks the texture and smell of the poop, but then he even eats it. Boog and others get disgusted, but Elliot calmly chews the poop and predicts the werewolf's location. Suddenly, he notices the squirrel on a tree nearby. He is the one who pooped here. After realizing that he has eaten a friend's poop, Elliot runs towards the lake to wash his mouth. After him, Shaw also reaches that place and eats the poop because he also thinks that it belongs to the werewolf. After reaching the lake, Giselle asks Elliot to recall whatever they observed today. They didn't find any proof in the RV or any monster poop. It clearly concludes that there's no werewolf at all. But Elliot still thinks that the werewolf is really smart. That's why he didn't leave any clues. Suddenly, they notice Shaw coming along with his crew. Elliot wants to speed up his search, but it's only possible if he can see the forest from the top. In that way, he will definitely spot the werewolf. On looking around, they find the plane left by Shaw. The animals get inside it, but they have no idea how to turn it on. Elliot starts playing with the wiring while Boog presses random buttons. The plane turns on and starts flying in the air. Shaw sees the werewolf drawing on the plane window and he assumes that the werewolf is flying the plane. Meanwhile, the animals start to panic when they realize that the bird accompanying them can fly himself but not the plane. They start confessing their secrets as their last words and get ready to die. Fortunately, Boog accidentally discovers that he can steer the plane using his bum. He takes the plane to a suitable location and lands it down safely. But poor Shaw and his crew are still wondering how the werewolf learned to fly and earned a driving license. Elliot asks his friends to keep going, but they all are too scared. They miraculously survived a plane crash, but they will definitely die if they keep risking their lives. Elliot asks them to stop being such cowards and believe in themselves. If the werewolf got fangs and Shaw has guns, then the animals have good luck. This time, Boog's bum saved them, but the next time, there's going to be something else there to rescue them. The point is, they will survive eventually, so they shouldn't lose hope. Boog admires Elliot's spirit, but he still prefers building a panic room. The animals start fighting over their next step while Mr. Weenie goes away to look for something to eat. Elliot decides to change his plan to something more effective. Instead of going after the werewolf, he's going to lure the werewolf towards them. To execute his plan, he asks Boog to dress up as a female werewolf. Boog feels really uncomfortable and tells Elliot to use something else. They start arguing again, but gets quiet when they see Mr. Weenie covered in ketchup he ate. Elliot calls the ketchup blood and declares that Mr. Weenie is the actual werewolf. To prove his theory, he decides to observe Mr. Weenie more closely. It's full moon night, so if Mr. Weenie is the werewolf, he will definitely transform today. Elliot and Boog set up a night camera and stay awake to observe Mr. Weenie. However, they eventually fall asleep, and the next morning, Mr. Weenie goes missing. Elliot checks the cameras and says that Mr. Weenie is doing traditional werewolf dance in his sleep. He's definitely a werewolf. Mr. Weenie hears everything and assumes that he is the werewolf who has eaten Bobby. Before he eats any more of his friends, Mr. Weenie has to leave this forest. Once he leaves, the other animals start explaining how Mr. Weenie can't be the wolf. However, it's too late. Before they can find Mr. Weenie, Shaw attacks them out of nowhere and aims at Boog because he is dressed up as a female werewolf. Boog runs away with his friends, but ends up near the old lava mine. Either they have to get killed by Shaw, or take the risk to enter the deadly lava mine. Of course, they prefer the lava mine and ride a trolley to get as far as possible. Shaw is determined to catch the female werewolf, so he also breaks into the lava mine. At first, he shoots at the animals, but as he gets closer, he holds on to Boog's favorite teddy bear. Boog tries his best to save the teddy bear, but unfortunately, it falls down in the lava. Once they get out of the mine, Boog starts shouting in anger. He has enough of this stupid mission. He even lost his beloved teddy bear. Boog only wants to build a panic room and hibernate for years, and even after he comes out, he is not going camping with Elliot. Boog always believed him, but now he has realized that Elliot is just a loser who puts everyone in danger. Hearing this, Elliot gets heartbroken. He doesn't need friends anymore, and will complete this dangerous task all by himself, because he will not hurt his feelings like Boog did. Instead of apologizing, Boog gets even angrier and calls Elliot a selfish guy who only cares about his own happiness and stupid camping trips. Elliot feels disappointed and declares that he will never go on a camping trip with Boog, even if he's the last animal on Earth. Saying this, Elliot goes towards the Dead Bear Gulch alone. After he leaves, Giselle tells Boog that Elliot did this all just to help him get over the fear of werewolves. He doesn't care about any camping trip. It's just an excuse so Elliot can spend some quality time with his best friend. Boog can't abandon his friend like this. Regardless of knowing everything now, Boog sticks to his plan of building a panic room by himself. Meanwhile, Mr. Weenie is still convinced that he is the werewolf. He tries to ignore the full moon but eventually sees it. Though nothing happens to him, Mr. Weenie assumes that he has transformed into a bloodthirsty werewolf. On the other hand, Boog finds the other animals hiding inside a panic room they just built. Boog joins them too, and they decide to stay hidden until the danger is gone. Surprisingly, Shaw is camping right above them. He thinks that the werewolf is just a rumor spread by the animals so the hunters get distracted. The Dead Bear Gulch is also fake to keep the hunters away. Shaw declares the gulch as the animal's ultimate hiding spot and prepares his gun for hunting. Elliot is in danger. He has no idea what's coming his way. Elliot keeps looking for the werewolf but only finds Mr. Weenie. Suddenly, 3 werewolves appear behind them, but Boog reaches there in time to save his friend. Boog faces his ultimate fear and attacks the werewolves. However, they turn out to be Shaw and his crew disguised as werewolves. The animals reach there as well and use Elliot's training to scare the hunters. Boog uses this chance to attack Shaw and throws a beehive on his head. Elliot asks Boog why he came back, but Boog only says that friends don't abandon friends. The police arrive in time and arrest Shaw for creating fake news. Moreover, the sheriff declares open season illegal permanently. He thanks Boog for the help and invites him to live in the town, but Boog has found his new home in the forest. The sheriff understands the situation and says a warm goodbye with a bunch of Boog's favorite treat bars. Boog goes back to his friends and promises to stay with them and protect them from all the dangers. He's no more afraid of anything, especially not the werewolves. Boog also apologizes to Elliot for the harsh words he said, and he also agrees to go on camping with him. Elliot also regrets putting his friends in danger and apologizes to Boog by giving back his beloved teddy bear. Later that night, Elliot lights a small fire and camps with his best friend, though it's not much different from what they do every night, but it's the thought that counts. The camping will not be complete without some scary stories, so Elliot presents another werewolf story. As he was telling it, a werewolf appeared behind him. At first, Elliot assumes that it's just Ian dressed up in a costume, but soon he realizes that it's actually the werewolf. Elliot gets scared, but Boog reminds him that he was preparing for this moment all his life. Elliot agrees and starts his interpretive dance. Surprisingly, it works, and the werewolf becomes their friend. The animal keeps dancing all night and welcomes their newest friend, the Wailing Wampus Werewolf.